Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Want everyone to see what is really going on in Major League Baseball with the Braves advancing over the Dodgers to make it to the 117th World Series. Of course, if you follow me on Patreon, in spring training, we said in the National League it would be one of these two teams in the World Series this year, either the Dodgers or the Braves. And that's because it's the 117th World Series, and they're the only two teams in the National League that have a connection to the number 117. In Gematria, Dodgers equals 117, and the Braves renamed their park recently Truist Park, which also equals 117. Of course, the other thing the Braves had going for them this season was the death of Hank Aaron on January 22nd. And if you watched my video at the beginning of the year on Hank Aaron's death, we talked a lot about 42. Hank Aaron played until age 42, just like how Jackie Robinson was the first black baseball player called up to Major League, and he wore number 42. Last night, when the Braves advanced, it was a ritual clearly synced up with Hank Aaron's January 22nd death, and it came on the eve of the anniversary of Jackie Robinson's death, which is today, October 24th. The Braves advanced October 23rd, but remember who runs the show. The Jesuits at the Vatican. So last night when this game wrapped up, it was already October 24th in Rome, which is the anniversary of Jackie's death, number 42. But look at this, you guys. It is all Jesuits, and the sooner everybody understands this, the better, because this stuff needs to be stopped. From Hank Aaron's death on January 22nd to his team advancing to the World Series is 274 days later. And notice, in Gematria, Isus hominum salvator, which is the Jesuit motto, equals 274. If you use numerology, it equals 85, like Atlanta, Georgia is 85. Remember, Interstate 85 goes through Atlanta, Georgia after they lost in the Super Bowl. The 25-point comeback on 2/5 when Falcons equals 25, Pope equals 25. Right after that, Interstate 85 burned down and it was blamed on a crackhead. National Football League's also 85. And don't forget, that's the only Super Bowl that was ever blessed by Pope Francis, Super Bowl 51, where Atlanta lost. That's because Rome equals 51. That Super Bowl was on Pope Francis' 51st day of his age. And of course, Matt Ryan's Jesuit educated. Tom Brady's a good Catholic. But anyway, Isus hominum salvator, 274. 85 like Atlanta, Georgia, and 122 like the day Hank Aaron died, January 22nd, 122. If you're new here, let me show you how this works. Let's write out Isus hominum salvator. If you're new here, there's 4 base ciphers. The 266 I didn't cover in Hank Aaron's death. I don't think it fits in, but the first Jesuit pope is Pope Francis, the 266th pope. The way these values work, it equals 274 when you just use the alphabetic order. A is 1 up through Z is 26. It equals 85 when you use the alphabetic order and rules numerology. It's still A is 1 up through Z is 26. It's just use numerology. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. Where it changes is J. J is the 10th letter. The numerology of 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Z is 1 back to A is 26. That's where the motto is 266. Again, the first Jesuit pope's the 266th. Remember when Pope Francis came to the U.S. in 2015? He spoke at the White House on the 266th day of the year. And then when you run it in reverse with numerology, it's 122. Again, Hank Aaron dead 122. 274 days later, his team makes the World Series, winning 4-2, like how he retired at age 42. And then again, Atlanta, Georgia, 85. And that 4-2 win, Jesuits got the 42. Same with Jackie. Jackie, 42. Tuskegee, 42. Slavery, 42. February, Black History Month, 42. Black History on the Bus, 42. Martin, 42. The sitcom Martin, he lives in apartment, 42. Malcolm X, 42. Muhammad Ali, 42. Notice none of these are their birth names, right? Martin Luther King Jr., not born Martin. Malcolm X, not born Malcolm X. Muhammad Ali, not born Muhammad Ali. Again, it's because the Jesuits control the world of sports. If you missed the work I did last year on Jackie Robinson and why they moved Jackie Robinson Day to the day they did, I was talking about how it was a huge Jesuit ritual. Then later in the same day, Chadwick Boseman died, who played Jackie Robinson. And he died at age 42, but then they changed his age of death to 43, which we covered in real time. And again, that was because he played Robinson, and it was Jackie Robinson Day, and Robinson's 43. But anyway, Hank Aaron, his death clearly synced up. And like we talked about at the time, he'd just gotten the coronavirus vaccine. That was one of the stories. He died 17 days after getting vaccinated. Coronavirus vaccine's also 274. Remember, this entire pandemic's a huge Jesuit ritual. There were 201 people in the control group for the Tuskegee experiment, the Jesuit Orders 201. Event 201 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation. But here, we'll come back to this ritual at the World Series. I just want to go back now to January 22nd. I had to capture how TMZ kept their timer on 42 minutes for Hank Aaron's death. And just to remind you, he died at age 86 on the 22nd. Braves has the gematria of 22 like Aaron. When you run it in reverse, Aaron's also 86 like his age of death. And Blood Sacrifice has that gematria 67 and 86 like Braves is 67. Satanic is 67, 22, 122. Dead on the 22nd day of the year on 122. Again, former Braves player. And remember, you guys, he started out with the Milwaukee Braves, went to the Atlanta Braves. What was the first NLDS this year? It was Milwaukee versus Atlanta. Again, it's all structured around Hank Aaron. Boston has a good year. The original Braves team was the Boston Braves. They went from Boston to Milwaukee to Atlanta. And remember, that was the ritual when Matt Ryan was playing Tom Brady and the Patriots from Boston. You know, you got the Jesuit-educated Matt Ryan who played at Boston College, now in Atlanta. Again, they're always doing historical tributes with the cities and the championships. It's all rigged. You learn the code. You see what's going on before it happens. And Hank Aaron, of course, died on the date with the kill numerology. Once a month, there's the day that has the triple kill numerology. Kills 64, 44, 28. Died on that date. He wore the number 44. The guy who runs my website, he re-backed up all the pictures, and we lost some of the images. Rambo was pissed when this happens, but like before, there was a picture here of just Hank Aaron wearing a number 44 jersey. I'm sure most people know that. If you don't know that, look it up. Hank Aaron wore number 44. African Americans 44 in septenary gematria, like the first black president was number 44, Obama. And like we pointed out back then, he started out in Wisconsin, Georgia. The year of Super Bowl 51, before that season began, my first pick for that year was the NFC Championship to be Packers and Falcons because it was the first year that the Super Bowl was going to be on a 44-date numerology. These teams, you know, with the good connection, Falcons equals 25. The Super Bowl was on 2-5 that year. They ended up making it. But anyway, 44, Hank Aaron's number. And again, you can understand why this is what happened this year in the rigged baseball season. Hank Aaron, he's got fateful name gematria, 83 and 38. Of course, Hank's not his birth name. It's Henry. But they called him Hank Aaron, 83, 38, like murder. He died 14 days before his birthday. Dead has the gematria of 14 and 22. Dead on the 22nd, 14 days before his birthday. And funny looking back at this, how they have the Vin Scully call for Hank Aaron's 715th home run. Vin Scully, Dodgers announcer, right? Dodgers, Braves, NLCS. It's just, again, you guys, it's a script. Sports are scripted. And there he was getting his vaccine days before the death. And just like we talked about, again, he retired at age 42. Jackie, vaccine, Martin, Malcolm X, Tuskegee, slavery, 42. What are we looking at months later? You know, them on the way to the World Series, winning the series 4-2 with a score of 4-2. And literally on the eve of Jackie Robinson's death. Henry Aaron, birth name 56, like COVID vaccine, like coronavirus, like Society of Jesus. And from the day he died till the day the Milwaukee and Atlanta series started in the playoffs, that was 263 days later, the 56th prime number. How perfect. And let's see. You see how I have up here how Atlanta, Georgia equals 59, the 17th prime? The World Series is going to begin October 26th, which will be 277 days after his death, the 59th prime number. In Jewish gematria, it kills 59, but remember, 59 is another number stamped all over black history. Slave, Negro, Blues, Rasta. Again, Obama's Secret Service name, Renegade. His new book, A Promised Land. You know what I mean? Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year, so 277 days from his death to the start of the World Series, which is the 59th prime, which also goes with Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, that's why you got to know your ciphers, forwards and backwards. And let's see, what else did we say? Their last game last year, their last game last year was against the Dodgers as well. Go figure. So from their last game to his death was 97 days later. Death is 97. Okay. So, notice ESPN's story about the Braves winning. Notice it's 1:25 long, right? That's 85 seconds. Atlanta, Georgia, 85. Jesus Hominum Salvatore, 85, like we were talking about. And the Braves advanced on a 74-date numerology to the World Series. Always special number. Hank's got that 74 connection. Again, they do it on the eve of the anniversary of Jackie Robinson's death, number 42, winning the series 4-2 with the score 4-2. And both these teams, again, these were the only two teams in the NL that had a connection to 117. Braves play at Truist Park, 117. Dodgers, 117. Year of the 117th World Series. And now they'll play the Astros. Astros owner, Crane, his birthday's January 17th. And I did strike out in the AL. There was a caller mid-season who saw this and thought it might be the Astros. And I said, well, it's possible. But I was leaning towards some other teams in the AL. Again, we had the Field of Dreams game this year. And it was originally going to be the White Sox and... Oops, it's because I did Fields. I need Field of Dreams. It was going to be the White Sox and the Cardinals when they first announced it. So it seemed like it had a lot to do with La Russa because those were his old team, the Cardinals. Now he's coaching the White Sox. But Field of Dreams 117 for the year of the 117th World Series. And again, if you haven't seen the movie, Kevin Costner, he's told by some voice in the cornfield that he needs to build this baseball diamond to bring back his dad's favorite player, Shoeless Joe Jackson. By the way, did you guys just see that the Shoeless Joe Jackson card sold for $1.47 million, a record during the playoffs while World Series is 147. But anyway, Illinois, where the White Sox play, is also 117. So I was thinking maybe that it kind of felt like it was too obvious. I was like, well, it could be the White Sox year. It could be the White Sox year. They got the 117 connection. They're doing the Field of Dreams thing. He goes to Fenway Park in that movie. Boston made it far. But the team that I liked even more than that at the beginning of the year was Toronto because they got a bunch of players. Springer just came over from Houston, and it ends up being Houston anyway. Remember, you guys want to know something that's funny? Look at this. I always talk about Houston in 31, right? I call it the 31 city. J.J. Watt left Houston at age 31. Harden left Houston at age 31. Springer left Houston at age 31. Now J.J. Watt with the Cardinals is going to play Houston exactly 31 weeks after his birthday. That's later today. Cardinals and Houston Texans. But, yeah, I thought Toronto had a great shot this year, and they looked good at the end of the year, man. They just barely didn't make it in. But, see, again, it's even though that's not right, the point was we knew that the teams with the 117 connections were going to be the teams in the World Series. And what I missed in the beginning of the year was that the Astros owner was born on 117, January 17th. So that ends up being Houston's 117. But White Sox did have the 117 connection, and so did Toronto. So I thought that it was likely one of those two teams in the AL. Somebody called in around midseason and said, Zach, did you know that the Yankees have been to the World Series every 20 years going back to 1921. And if you look it up, it's true. They went in 1921, 1941, 1961, 1981, 2001. So had they made it this year, it would have been the sixth straight time. 21's the sixth triangular number. That obviously didn't happen. But man, the Yankees, they did a riddle with the Yankees this year that was like the best World Series riddle I've ever seen that didn't happen. They picked up their 57th win of the season 147 days after Aaron Boone's birthday on the day leaving 150 days left in the year. And I thought, man, that is a great World Series riddle if they're going to have the Yankees end up being the team. And I was starting to think like, okay, maybe that's the reason Toronto was in New York, because Toronto's won 17. They played half the season in New York. So the AL gave me fits this year. But one thing that we did nail dead on at the All-Star break, I said, just watch. When the Yankees got subbed into that Field of Dreams game, I said, just watch. By the end of the Field of Dreams game, the Yankees will have 63 wins, which was a big call because they had to win a bunch of games and get real hot for that even to be possible. But I said, watch, it's going to happen. Yankees will have 63 wins by the end of the Field of Dreams game. Notice Field of Dreams 63. Major League is 63, so is Major League Baseball. And sure enough, the Yankees did have 63 wins by the end of that Field of Dreams game. But they definitely didn't make the World Series. So anyway, we were right on in the NL, and keep in mind, Major League Baseball 117. That was also part of the reason I was like, well, Yankees are MLB when you think about it. But they're doing Braves and Astros. And like I've been talking about recently on Patreon, if they did end up doing Braves and Astros, which they're doing, it obviously has something to do with what's been going on in the news. You got the Ahmaud Arbery killing in Georgia. Then you had George Floyd. And then you are back in Georgia with the Rashard Brooks killing, right? Georgia, George. Jackie Robinson's from Georgia, by the way. And George Floyd is from Houston, Texas. So, let me show you something here. Let me show you what's so interesting about this George Floyd thing. George Floyd's birthday is supposedly October 14th, right? And from his birthday to this World Series being set is 9 days later, right? It was set on October 23rd. Astros were already in from the day prior. Braves get in the day after. Baseball's a game of nines. 9 innings, right? And look at the Gematria baseball. Baseball. 54, 18, 162, 54. All those numbers break down to 9 in numerology. That's what the lower digit is beneath. And even when you write out Major League Baseball, it all breaks down to 9. And notice, Major League Baseball 162 with the alphabetic order. Baseball 162 with it in reverse. And 162 games in a season, right? 54 outs in a complete game. 18 half innings in a complete game. Roger Maris, 61 home runs in 61. 61 the 18th prime. Anyway, 9 days after George Floyd's birthday, the World Series is set. And here's what really jumps out. The Astros right now in the postseason are 64 and 65. That's their all-time postseason record. If you just look at it specifically in the World Series, they're currently 7 and 11, kind of like their reflection of 117. You're the 117th World Series. In baseball, you got to win 4 games to win the series. And notice, if the Astros lost 4 games, what would happen? They'd have 69 losses in the postseason, and they'd have 15 losses in the World Series. Well, what's Atlanta equal? 69 and 15. World Series does also have the gematria of 69, just for the record. And remember, the Astros, let me pull this back up. The Astros, 2 years ago, picked up their 57th loss in the postseason in the World Series. They got eliminated by the Nationals. That was their 57th postseason loss, and that happened. World Series 57, Nationals 57. Remember the Nationals ritual to beat the Astros? We had that one seen before the playoffs started. But, yeah, similar. Once again, they can pick up a World Series number if things don't go in their favor. So, quite interesting how it lines up that way. And the Braves are currently sitting on 99 postseason losses, which is interesting because they haven't been to the World Series since 99. Were they in the World Series in 96 as well? Hold on, let me go back and look at that. World Series. Here, let me pull that up real quick. Were the Braves in the World? I know they were in it in 99. Were they in it in 96? Let me see. So their first World Series was 1914. Boston Braves back then. Hold on, let's scroll through. This is in chronological order. Let's go see. 96, they were in it. They lost to the Yankees in 96. I was younger back in these days. I used to wear a Braves hat just to annoy my dad. My dad's a big Yankees fan. Makes me think it back. They lost to the Yankees in 96 and 99. Maybe that's... See, sometimes their riddles are complicated. So they did that huge World Series thing with the Yankees, and I was like, what the fuck is that about then? So the Braves go into the World Series 96 and 99 in the postseason, and they lost to the Yankees both those years. That's wild. You gotta love the 95 Braves-Indians World Series. You need to go back and look at what was going on that year. Probably killed some famous Native American right before the game. Okay. But yeah, that was the last time they were there. 96, 99 they go in. Both years they lost to the Yankees. Go figure. But yeah, I know there's something here with the George Floyd too, because they always are syncing up the news and the sports, and we kept making... I mean, I made the point about that redundantly in my book. Where'd I put it? Number Games. Big chapter on George Floyd, but Georgia. So here we go. Houston, where George Floyd's from, and Georgia. By the way, the Braves are 3-6 in World Series. I mean, you could look at this one of two ways. George Floyd died at age 46. Houston, Texas is 46. Georgia, though, is also 37, but still, I'm looking at this thing right here with the 69 and 15. That's looking about right, so... by the way, look at where Hank Aaron's from, you guys. Hank Aaron's from Mobile, Alabama. What do you know? Henry Aaron, 56. Here, let's do it one more time. Henry Aaron, 56. I know I've been talking about this town Mobile a whole lot. Remember around the same time Hank Aaron died, there was some rapper who supposedly murdered his grandparents in Mobile, Alabama. But Mobile equals 56, and you know why that's so perfect? It's because it's home to one of the 27 Jesuit nations in this... Or it's home to one of the 27 Jesuit universities in the nation. And Society of Jesus is 56. Alabama and Jewish Gematria is also 56. And you know how Alabama just got upset the other week? It was on Jimbo Fisher's 56th birthday. He beat Alabama on his 56th birthday. And you know what? Nick Saban sat on 266 wins in that game. Isus Hominum Salvator, the Jesuit motto, 266. So... Again, you guys, Jesuits run the whole show, from college football to MLB to the rest of sports. It's just Jesuit ritual after Jesuit ritual. And again, 263 days after his death, you had the Milwaukee-Atlanta series, the two cities connected to the Braves. So... Yeah, this was obviously a huge clue when they did this. And I mean, those are the exact teams we were looking at in the NL anyway, but looking back at this, I didn't even catch that. The Vin Scully calling the... Here, let's see what day that was. Hank Aaron's 715th home run. Let's see what day that was. It looks like he was playing the Dodgers. Go figure. Henry Aaron hit the 715th home run, which cleared the left field wall off Al Downing of the Los Angeles Dodgers on the 8th of April. 74. Of course it was 74. And then he beats the Dodgers on a 74 date numerology. Hank 74. Man. April 8th. Oh, I get it. I get it. I get the April 8th date. I get it. Atlanta has the 4-8. On 4-8. Perfect, man. It's just perfect. And I get so tired of people going, how do you script a home run? It's just like, dude, have you ever watched these guys take batting practice? Are you good at sports yourself? Probably not. You're probably just a spectator. But anyway, go watch these guys take batting practice. And again, you're talking about the best in the game. So, you know, give these guys a meatball, give them a hanger, boom, it's out of the park. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. I think I gave you enough in this one. Back to the writing grind. Again, you guys, if you don't know, I'm trying to finish up my third book right now. There just aren't enough hours in the day, but anyway, back on the grind. Till next time.